Today we have self-acclaimed Huddersfield punks, having recently dropped an EP of not-so-punk songs, and like their earlier material, I still fucking love it. The band maintain a level of quirkiness in an all-acoustic EP. Like David Bowie, this band has slowly proven that they can not only reinvent their sound, but also do it with a bit of fucking finesse. So first of all, I'd like to introduce and welcome Jack from Persian Rug Sale. Cheers for being here, mate. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
So I've been doing a segment where I talk about, well, I did a segment where I talk about the first time that I met the person who I'm interviewing. And I'm slowly getting to a point now where I'm interviewing people and they have no fucking idea who I am or don't really know much about us. So I've kind of changed it up as when I first time I saw your band. And the first time I saw your band was at the parish at Christmas. And there was £2 yourselves and then Dead Wax headline.
Oh, brilliant gig that.
Yeah, and £2 are obviously £2. You know, I mean, they were great. And then Hughes came on, and I saw his. I thought, oh, it's just gonna be just a nice band playing some. And all of a sudden, everything just went fucking mental. And I've never been at a gig with like local bands which has been sold out, packed out venue, and it's just been fucking mental. So I would even go as far as say that like Dead Wax had a really good crowd, but yours was just like intense as fuck. It was just brutal, but it was great because it was nice to be in an environment where local bands receive the same attention and energy as your bigger bands. So the first proper question I'll ask you is, obviously within the band we have a brothers dynamic, a Gallagher dynamic, to say the least. And I was just wondering, what's it like being in a band with family, and especially it being brothers in a band?
It's the best and worst thing at the same time. Like, it's brilliant because you can be completely honest, and it's very easy because you're always about. But the honesty kind of means you just argue. Like the other day I was drumming and my brother wanted to like watch TV and he couldn't hear it for drums. And he was like, get off drums. And I was like, I'm drumming. And he's like taking the drum kit off me as I'm drumming. And like, I'm like running around the house, hitting the cymbal, like trying to drum. It's like, no, I'm not stopping drumming for you to watch TV. And drum kit were just all over the shop. It were a nightmare. So it's good, but also you get them kind of arguments.
Do you know those situations where, for example, he's taking your drum kit away, whilst he's doing it and you're still playing, are you still as angry or angrier, or are you just both laughing at this point? Because if it was me with like my sister, if we were both in bands and my sister started doing that to me, I'd just be laughing at that point.
It's definitely a mix. Like, we're both very consciously aware about how absurd it is, like what's happening. It's very childish, and like very aware that I'm just winding him up, but also I want to drum. Like it kind of flips. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's jerky, but also you are arguing.
No, it's good. It's good to see you have that kind of dynamic, though. The brotherly dynamic continues in a music set. The main thing of this is to talk about love songs, newish EP.
Yeah.
And must be honest, when I heard you were releasing like an all acoustic thing, I was kind of like, oh, okay, and I was kind of a bit worried. I thought, because you've got that kind of the punkier side and the indie side, and it works. I was like, oh, they're going to make the big jump, but I listen to it and I like it equally, if not in part, a bit more than the earlier stuff, because it shows like that kind of level of maturity, which I think a lot of bands don't get until very much later on. But it's great EP. If you haven't already listened to it, you better fucking listen to it, folks, because it is banging. But let's get into the nitty gritty of it. So what were the inspirations that were brought forward for the songs and then the EP itself?
I think, like, for a while I was just very much, and still am, very much in Beatlemania, just like obsessed with the Beatles, and the songs very much, I think, come out of that. Like, I think I can hear myself, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to be Paul McCartney there, and just like, it's very, I think especially with it's when I went to uni, when the songs were written, and so I was writing by myself for the first time, just like on my acoustic guitar. Whereas before, me and Joe had always written together, so we'd be like riffing, and I'd be like thinking at lyrics and stuff. Whereas this is like first time I was just writing songs by myself, just with a guitar, playing the only 4 chords I know, and that's why they're also kind of basic. Like it's just me learning guitar, I guess. Like this is like the first 4 songs I wrote when I learned guitar. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of so that's why it's very like all the songs are about just very generic love because it's just like trying to imitate the Beatles, I guess, like early '60s pop music.
No, it's kind of cool though, the fact that it's sort of a curveball that came out of a new way of looking at music within the band as such. Like I think that's quite a. It's sort of in a way it shows. Not only does it show in the music that it's maturity, but it shows that you can go in a different setting, and it forces you to adapt, and then write what has become of this EP. And I also think it's funny how it was Beatles mania. That has whisked you away. So next question is, as I've already said, you are self-proclaimed Huddersfield punks. I think a lot of people would agree in the Huddersfield scene with you. I would, but the EP itself kind of deviates from the earlier material. And I
Yeah.
was just wondering, is this a new direction you want to go in, or is this just kind of a moment where this is what you felt you wanted to do?
I mean, the punk label for us has always been like a bit of a strange one because I don't really listen, other than Slaves, who I love, I don't really like punk music. Like, I never really listened to it. And I don't think any of us really did. It's more just that like, I can't sing. So I just end up just doing whatever I'm doing, just shouting. And it's just like, oh, it's punk. And everyone says it's punk. I'm like, well, from like a marketing the band perspective, how do we describe ourselves? Well, I guess it's punk. And then it almost becomes self-fulfilling. It's like, let's write some angry songs. And then I think you kind of get lost up in it. And
Yeah.
I don't know how we ever ended up being a punk band, really. But going forward, like the new songs, then like we've written so many songs and we don't even know if we're going to perform love songs live. We already knew we weren't performing the old songs live when we get back to it, but we've just written so many new ones and it's a lot more, it's definitely more like love songs. Like I'm playing guitar now, it's more chords rather than riffs. I don't know how to describe it at all, but it's not punk anymore for certain.
Do you think? Do you think with the label sort of thing of punk, was it ever something that got on your nerves, like being labelled a punk band as such?
It didn't get on my nerves. It was it's kind of strange because it has very weird connotations, punk. Like it can go from being like strange like old men in leather like talking about like the welfare state to like just like slaves, like young people talking about like no. It's
Yeah.
it's such a, and I think when we said punk to people who have a different connotation in the mind, it can be really hard to like not pigeonhole yourself. Like people think, oh, it's very shouty or something, or it's very dark. Whereas we always wanted it to be kind of positive, kind of not just one dimensional in its approach, I guess.
Well,
so
it's
that
sort
one
of,
me up.
yeah, it's sort of like with it, it's very. I'd probably say it's post-punk in the sense of like, let's take Arctic Monkeys for example. Like
Yeah,
they are indie and post-punk, but the premise and the chords and the way it's played, it is punk because it's fast, it's upbeat, but it's with a twist. And it's sort of similar with Used, really, is that it's a kind of an off-branch sort of version of punk. Like
yeah,
it's nothing like the Sex Pistols because the Sex Pistols wouldn't work nowadays because people would just be like probably cringe at it. But it's sort of this kind of
yeah.
off-branch sort of thing. And I fucking love Slaves as well. I've seen them about maybe 7 times.
Yes,
And I remember the first one I went to was originally at Newcastle University Students' Union, and that's like 1,000. And then they were like, "Oh, upgrading the venue," and then it was the O2 Academy. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, all right then." So it was like 1,000 to 4,000. But yeah, I've seen them so many fucking times.
Yes.
But that is a punk thing as well. Though it's like some of the songs they do are like so deep rooted in like hardcore punk, like in that like even heavier than punk and faster.
Yeah.
But then like especially the new album, there's a lot more kind of like 90s Britpop in a certain sense in terms of like the melody, and like there's a bit more to it than just the straight talking, hard hitting old punk rock.
Yeah, I always think they're like Blur slaves a lot. Like, I don't know why they remind me of them, but some of their essence. Maybe it's just London accent, but
I think Laurie also cites Blur as a major influence. But when I ask a band I think of when I think of Slaves, it's because they do have some of the same riffs here and there. But anyway, enough about Slaves. Back to the fucking real deal. So my next question is on Instagram. You spoke about the story of love songs as like the EP, and talked about how it was
yeah.
made. And you reference new harmonies, vocabulary, and new blues. You've referenced Beatles mania already in this, and I was just wondering, do you view this discovery as a learning curve and a sign of maturity? I know we kind of briefly touched on it, but do you think this is you discovering this has made you realise this is something I'm more the path I want to go down?
Yeah. I think like I've learned so much recently. Like I've started having singing lessons to learn to sing. So I definitely think I don't want to say I'm very mature now, but I definitely think it is learning for certain. Like musically, especially, like the songs have come on so much. Even just like in nuanced ways, like not on about I'm using a jazz chord now, but like I think it just works better, I guess.
I think with it though, it's sort of like jazz chords and weird chords. Like I always try and find the weirdest chords to try and make them work because I always think they're cool. But it's at the same time it's good. I've already said that it's nice that as a band you've found grounded in a sound, and then you kind of finding more to your sound, and you're doing more things, and it still sounds like you as well. I think that's one of the big things I took away from the EP is it doesn't sound like really forced or like you're really trying to change who you are because you're trying to disregard the older stuff, or that you're not trying to do that. You're just being you in this. It's very clear.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad that comes across, to be honest.
And the fact you're taking singing lessons means that you might have the title of Huddersfield Punks taken away from you.
Yeah, probably.
You're slowly trying to rip away what you used to be because you're secretly trying to tell everyone to fuck off. So the big theme of love songs is surprise, surprise, love. And I was just wondering, how important is love to you?
All you need is love. It's what all songs are about, really. Like, and people pretend they're not. Like, it's what everything's about, isn't it? Like all art, really. I know there's like political art and other art, but it tends to boil down to love, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. In terms of modern punk bands like Slaves, Idols, and stuff like that, the whole thing they preach is understanding, love, caring, joy. Like, and I think I agree with everything is about love, and it's the greatest emotion in the world because it's stronger than anything else. Like,
to be fair, like that's one of the things with love songs. We ended up it kind of felt like naturally you just end up when you sit and just play a chord, like, oh, I'll write a song. You end up singing all these cliches about love, and then you try and make it real, like, oh, I'll write about something personal. But then you realize, like, all emotions are really cliche. Like, every emotion is, and it's kind of something I think love songs just kind of embrace. Like, it's just going to be. I mean, that's why it's called love songs. It's just like it is cliche. Like talking about love in this way is very simple, very like childlike almost. Let's just embrace that and like hit it head on rather than trying to hide it in like poetry. Like it's not poetry, it's just it's just feelings.
So in terms of the lyrics of the EP, would you say that it's just like straight to the face, love, no kind of. Obviously, you have to have some sort of like in terms of the lyrics. You're not saying like just it's straight like as face value, but do you think of the EP you weren't wanting to kind of like work around it? You just wanted to go straight in and be like, love is love.
I mean, it's kind of retrospective. Like when I was writing them, I wasn't thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna write a head-on love song." It's just that's just the way they came out. But then I think looking back on it, like it's we kind of had to embrace the cliche because they were so simple. Like there was no poetry in them. It wasn't like, "Oh, we can say this is like come up with an artistic name or something," because it is just there's no connotations in it whatsoever other than the most simple. It's because the music I was listening to at the time and still do, like Motown and the Beatles. They're just very simple love songs, like, and I think that's just what I was trying to imitate, really.
No, it's cool to have an influence like that and to have the idea. What happened in regards to Joe's departure?
Joe just needed to focus on uni, really. Like last year when we could gig, Seth, do you know, from £2, did some gigs with us because Joe was just so busy with uni work, and he's at uni in Sheffield. So it just got to a point where it's like we just didn't really have the time to do it. And it kind of coincided with like me writing more songs and like learning guitar myself. And whereas like, I can play guitar myself when we perform. So we just looked out for a bassist, and we found Emma through Honey Badgers, which is a band we played with in Manchester, and Emma's the drummer's older sister. So that's how we found Emma.
So was it sort of, in terms of him leaving, was it agreed by the band, or did he just come one day and he's like, I can't juggle this anymore, I need to focus on university and I need to leave the band?
Yeah, I mean, it was a much more slow and natural kind of thing, because it was just like we were doing gigs without him, with Seth, and then while we were writing songs without him, and obviously me and Sam practice all the time because we live together and we can, and it was just kind of got to a point where it's like we're not really a band anymore because we just don't have the time to do it, and yeah, it was more like that, just a natural agreed decision. No, like, oh, I'm leaving this. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
No, it's kind of nice that though, because obviously when I first saw it and the rest of the band did and other people that we knew, like we were kind of a bit shocked and we were wondering, because then when he left and then obviously Love Songs is being released, I kind of first thought, oh shit, is there being a disagreement or whatever? And so, but it's nice that hasn't been a disagreement.
Yeah, I mean, we announced it quite abruptly, to be honest, because we didn't really keep it was just like one day, it was like, we should probably tell people. It's like do a post, isn't it?
It's like 3 years later and people are still think he's in the band. And he's like, oh, by the way, Joe's not here anymore.
Yeah.
So, what led you? Because obviously, you said Emma is the sister of the drummer of Honey Badger.
Yeah.
What led you to hire her as the new bass player? Like, how did the scenario situation go?
Well, just because all the songs, like on Love Songs, I wrote on guitar, so I was like, live, I probably want to play guitar, and it was like, well, I would quite like a second guitarist, even still, really. But like, it was like, we need a bassist, really. That's what we need to perform. It can't just be me and Sam. So we just asked all of our like friends if they knew anyone, or all the other bands. So we just asked Honey Badgers, and they were like, "Oh, we've got a bassist for you." And so we met her at a practice, and she was amazing. So it was all quite easy, really.
So to be fair, from this whole Joe leaving to Emma entering and how the song's been released, it sounds like you've had a pretty good, smooth sort of transition as such.
Yeah, we've been quite lucky, really. Like the first person we found to play bass happened to just be a fantastic bassist who we got on with really well. So it was just quite.
See, it's funny that because in my first band, the first bassist we got as a replacement for our other bass player that we had, she was just like perfect.
Yeah.
And she fit in and she got on with us and we had a laugh. And then she was more talented. She's probably more talented at bass and guitar than I was at guitar at the time.
Yeah.
But it sort of it is like really weird and like so coincidental when shit like this happens. When it's just a really smooth sort of transition.
Yeah. It is good as well with Emma because she's quite traditionally trained, whereas me and my brother aren't. So it's quite nice to have that mix of like someone who understands music from like a properly taught basis and someone who doesn't. It's quite a nice mix to have, I think. Two perspectives.
Yeah. I'm the one. I'm probably me and Steph in my band are the ones who aren't like properly taught like through music stuff, but like the rest of them are. So sometimes they'll turn around to me and be like, "Oh, what key's that in?"
No idea.
I don't know. And then they'll be like, "Oh, can you play along in this key?" And I'll be like, "Still don't know what you're on." And they talk about intricate parts of the guitar, and I'll be like, "Oh, they're the strings. There's the big bit. There's the pick." So I feel you in that sense. So obviously Emma, new addition. She's in the band. She's the bass player. Has Emma encouraged the alternate style presented on Love Songs? I know that you've had this process of discovering the Beatles and stuff, but has Emma kind of encouraged this as such?
I mean, on the EP, I played bass and me and my brother recorded it all ourselves. But afterwards, like playing the songs, like definitely, because Emma kind of joined at a time I was really discovering like country ballads where it's like John Prine and a female singer, and Emma can sing really nice, and our voices just go together so well. So we've just been like doing so many duets and like backing vocals, and it's just, I think her musicality as well allows us to explore deeper other styles of music, which when we all weren't very good musicians like before, punk was about as far as we could get because we only knew 3 chords, and like it was like that's as far as we can go with music. Whereas when you've got like 2 people who can sing now, someone who can play bass very well, understands harmonies, we can just go so much further musically into places we couldn't before because we just didn't have the ability to do it. So it's definitely encouraged it in that way. It's given us a much bigger like vocabulary to orchestrate the songs I write. Like I'll write a song and we can just take it much further than we could before because Emma knows what's going on.
No, it's good. That seems has been a rather large benefit of her coming in.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So moving away from love songs and to have a little trip down memory lane. I've always at Cheesy Beans. I do me digging. I do me research because you gotta know your guests, don't you?
Yeah.
And I did some diggings, and by my calculations, the band was previously called Dead Fairy.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, it wasn't necessarily as punk. It was more kind of metal orientated. So this is where I'll pass the mic over to you, and can you just expand on this and tell me what is this?
Yeah, I mean, I took all the music down from Dead Fairy like quite recently actually because I was so embarrassed about it. It was only called Dead Fairy because it was like just to piss off my friend really, because it was like the perfect mix of like emo and a bit camp. So it was like that'll like who was drumming for us at the time before Sam even drummed, like when we were very little and just wanted to I just loved like Bring Me the Horizon and those kind of bands, like metal While She Sleeps, just the kind of metalcore bands. We were trying to play metalcore, but obviously it's quite hard metalcore. Like metal is quite technical, and we weren't technical in the slightest, and it was just very strange. And I couldn't scream. I was still kind of just like going shouting and like tearing my throat up. And we do a gig, and I couldn't talk for a week afterwards, and it was like. It was so bad, and it was not good. And but then Dead Fairy kind of became Persian Rug Sale, I guess, through me and Sam and finding Joe, and then it became Persian Rug Sale. Do you know Wonk Unit? Yeah. Well, the Alex, the kind of who is Wonk Unit, he like took us down to London to like do a producing thing with Dead Fairy, and like see how we like make us better. And it was like, you need to change the name and like you need to learn how to sing and like just basically said everything that was wrong with us. And then it kind of knocked us back and we kind of just stopped, but became Persian Rug Sale afterwards because like James left and we got Joe and it became the band we are or were, I guess.
So would you say the Dead Fairy era, we'll call it, was it sort of dominated by the other members who were in the band at the time?
Nah, it's always very much been just whatever I want to do at the time.
There seems to be some sort of dynamic here.
What's that? Sorry.
I'm saying there seems to be some sort of dynamic here in terms of.
Yeah, it's basically just whatever I want to do at the time. Yeah, so I just loved Bring Me the Horizon, and that's what we kind of did. But it's a very bad time musically. It's not some of the kind of songs I want freely available on the internet. But
no, it's sort of funny though because there's been a few bands I've spoken to who've had like little history like that, but yours was extensive compared to everyone else's. But it was cool though. I liked it though because it's funny because it's like you had this thing and then you've like changed. It again shows how the maturity sort of the music. And it was funny looking at gigs and stuff. Looking at the gigs over there.
I mean, it's good because we have like me and Sam together have got like 4 years of gigging experience. Like we did the first Dead Fairy gigs in 2016, so it's like I'm glad we did it because it taught us a lot about how gigs work, I guess. Like when I look back at them, we'd turn up with like a full drum kit to every venue because we just didn't understand that they had drum kits, and we'd like have the car absolutely packed. We just didn't understand how it worked, and it was like it's mad. But I guess when you're 15 years old, turning up to gigs, like what do you expect?
I used to the first few gigs that I used to do, I never brought my amp. I used to. We did a headline gig once, and I still borrowed an amp, which obviously is like, which is obviously like the sin of gigs. But I didn't fucking have a big amp or anything. It was shit my amp that I had. But yeah, I remember those days. It was nicer then though because I had like a really light guitar and maybe like 3 pedals that I have. And now I've got to fucking wheel around a heavy Jazzmaster, which weighs like pounds, and then I've got a fucking pedal board, which is not only heavier in terms of weight, but in terms of price, because it's worth like fucking like £600.
Yeah.
Bring back those days, man. Bring back Dead Fairy. Bring back those easy days.
Yeah, that's one thing with gear with rugs. I've got a 15-watt tiny amp. And I don't want to use a single pedal ever. Like we didn't on the recording, and I don't want it for this. I'm going to bring a lead and my guitar and plug it in, and that's it. Like pure simple.
No, that's how it has to be done. The name itself, why did it change in the end? And then why did the sound shift from the kind of metal orientated stuff to the indie sort of punk vibe?
The name, I don't like. I always give a different stories to where it came from because it kind of came from a lot of things, I think. But we needed to change. Dead Fairy is an awful name, so it had to change from Dead Fairy. Persian Rug Sale. I was putting like fly poster in, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, you can't do that." But there's Persian Rug Sales like actual rug sales. There's all them posters up for like, "Oh, come to this church and buy a rug." And it was like, how come they can put posters up, but I can't for Dead Fairy? So I was like, if I just change name, it's all right.
That's very good.
So that's kind of where the first idea of calling it Persian Rug Sale, or at least something a bit novelty and a bit just like an actual event. The sound, I guess just what I was listening to. I stopped listening to Bring Me the Horizons, got into Slaves and Arctic Monkeys, and it's like, that's how that happened.
No, that's fair. That is probably one of the best band name stories I've heard.
Yeah.
Trying to tactically put posters up so you change it to a church rummage sale. Persian rugs. That's genius. So that is the bulk of the interview done, and now we're moving on to a cheesy beans classic round. If I say so myself, can I say that? Yeah, I can. Fuck
Yeah.
it. It's a quick fire round, so I've got a few questions lined up. First question is, what's your favourite biscuit?
Bourbon for certain.
Oh, Bourbons are on the rise on this series.
Are they?
For a while, it was custard creams were the dominant political party, if you could say that. But them ginger nuts, Bourbons are pretty.
Rich tea, I probably, to be honest, think it's because I don't have rich tea very often. But if I do have a rich tea, I'd probably enjoy it more. Maybe.
Yeah, I like rich teas,
Don't.
but it's for the same reason though, is that you don't really get them that often, because if you're in a supermarket and you're going to get some biscuits, you wouldn't really
get rich tea.
teas. Rich teas are sort of ones that if you see them in someone's house, you're like, oh, I'll have a couple, and then you have them, you're like, oh, these are really nice, and then you forget about them.
Yeah.
Oreos have been one that's came up a few times.
Oh, I'm not an Oreo man myself.
They're a bit too branded for me. Bit too capitalist.
Yeah, definitely.
But the Fox's ginger nut ones, you know, with the cream in the middle.
Yeah.
They came up, and they're pretty. I think they're pretty decent. But Bourbons are
the classic.
I found out as well, most Bourbons are vegan friendly.
Oh, are they? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't know that. See, it's the benefits of cheesy beans. Not only do you have a good time, but it's educational.
Yeah.
About Bourbons. I don't know what I'm talking about now. Right then, next question is sausage roll or sausage sandwich?
Oh, sausage sandwich for certain.
That was a speedy fucking response.
Yeah, I mean, I like sausage sandwiches. Bacon and egg sandwiches are also like probably my favourite. I prefer them. I know it's not part of the question, but I like my breakfast rolls.
Well, the thing is, I like bacon and egg sandwiches a lot, but I like sausage. Like, if there's a sausage and egg sandwich, I would eat it, but I wouldn't choose it over bacon and egg. I really like sausage sandwiches, but like, I don't know, there's something about sausage and egg which I just think like
it's not the best combo, is it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem very like.
I have a lot of egg sandwiches as well, me.
Yeah. Oh well, just you wait for one of the questions to come up.
Oh right.
Before we get to that question, who's your favourite? Oh, I don't know why I'm asking this, but who's your favourite music artist at the moment?
Oh, Bob Dylan for certain.
Oh, I was expecting the Beatles, but
Bob Dylan has took over the past like 6 months. Bob Dylan infatuation has took over the Beatles massively. I've even become Christian because of Bob Dylan's Christian music. Pretty much, I'm so obsessed. I've read about 5 books.
You've read 5 books
on Bob Dylan. I know every album like that.
It's kind of good though. Like, I mean, Bob Dylan is Bob Dylan. Like,
true.
like the Beatles are the Beatles, but Bob Dylan is Bob Dylan. And he is fucking he's a good lad.
He is a good lad, sure. Yeah.
But apparently Steph's singer My Band's boyfriend went to see him. I don't know when it was. Quite like recently-ish, like the past few years maybe. And apparently he's just like.
It's a bit past it, isn't it?
Yeah. Apparently he was playing on piano or something on his guitar or whatever, and apparently he tried to stand up, and apparently you could see people from the sides going to rush on to basically like catch him to stop him from falling, which I just think is like, when you've got first of all, if you've got security who are there to make sure you don't fall over, like when you're that old, you must have a bit of money, but second of all, you shouldn't be doing gigs if you need.
He is so old.
I mean, good on him though, still kicking it, still doing what he loves, so hopefully be me one day, who fucking knows.
Yeah.
The next question is a Haribo fried egg or a fried egg?
Fried egg.
Fried egg.
Normal fried egg. Yeah.
Do you like scrambled egg?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which would you choose out of the 2?
Fried for certain, but it depends what I'm having because I quite like scrambled egg on toast. It's just a little. Sometimes duck scrambled eggs are really nice. If you ever get duck eggs.
Duck eggs.
Yeah, really nice scrambled, really creamy. Really good.
I wasn't expecting to hear that today.
Yeah, egg connoisseur.
An egg connoisseur. Need to get on that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, fried eggs are just great, really.
Yeah, for certain.
I don't understand people who don't like eggs. I think
No.
they're weird. Unless they're vegan or whatever.
I was gonna say, what about your vegan audience eating the bourbons?
Fuck them.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm gonna lose views from seeing that.
No.
Who fucking cares? And the last question is: describe your band in one word.
New.
New. Why new?
Don't know. Just I think that's a good label to have attributed to you.
What, just being a new sort of band? New love band.
What's that?
The new love band in Huddersfield.
Yeah, I just like my biggest fear is being like that like old band. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're the old band, it's like it's bad. Like the band that like was playing the parish, like, and it's like the girlfriends are there and they're like 28, and it's like it's really cringy. And it's like, oh, these used to be like the young new band, but now they're the old band. Like I really don't want to be that band.
And you have to think of a new label now, because you can't be Huddersfield punk. You have to be. Well, I'll do a whole episode, a whole episode of Cheesy Beans, where we can discuss ideas for your new Huddersfield title.
Do you have any ideas off the top of your head?
No, but my brain generally is fucked, so. I'll be lucky to get through the next month, never mind the next year with the amount of shit I've got to do. Anyway, who cares about that on Cheesy Beans? Let's not talk about my mental health. I've had a fucking really good time. Quite a laugh. An unexpected laugh is to be said, but it's been fucking good times. I hope you've had a good time, Jack.
Thank you very much for having me.
I hope you've appreciated being on the greatest podcast series in the world. That's what some people say. Some people being me. Maybe my mum. Maybe my dad. Maybe some other people. Who fucking cares? That's it. That's the end. I'll stop chatting shit and I'll just finish the video. So wave to everyone who's been watching.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.